Welcome to the Chefofx podcast.
All right. Welcome to the Domes. Welcome, Johnny. Johnny is I'm Bez Tab Dome 9. He him pronouns. I did not cook tonight, but I appreciate everyone who did cook tonight. And what else? So Johnny, please introduce.
So my name is Johnny Magana. I'm from Santa Barbara County, and I'm a graduate student. Pronouns is him, and second year community development graduate student.
There you go.
Thank you.
And I think we all know who the Chefofx.
Hold up. We just had a dinner and we decided to do another recording session because it's been a while.
Yeah, because it's been a fuck long time since we've done a podcast. We need to do a recap. I feel like the last time I did a podcast, I was slamming down some Taco Bell.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
That's true.
You remember that? That vegan
that.
Taco Bell. Yeah.
Hold on, let me get an
Taco Bell?
extender. Well,
Yeah. Go ahead.
But keep going.
So Taco Bell has vegan food now?
Oh yeah. So this the vegan meal prep business that I started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know what the crazy thing is that Johnny was the first. Johnny is actually the one who inspired me with this idea because Johnny's an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. When you hang out with entrepreneurs, you know, you just kind of like, you're in that mentality, that vibe. I'm just like, you know, Johnny's always talking about his mechanisms.
Yeah, the infrastructure of my technology company that I'm going to be launching pretty soon.
Yeah. He's got it dialed in. So it's like naturally me, I'm just like, okay, well, I want to talk about my own mechanisms. Like, you know, so that's what I did. I talked about my mechanisms and then I ended up getting up business cards. But like I've only got an order and a half in the last 2 weeks, but I haven't really like done so much. Like I haven't like went out there and passed out business cards. I feel like if I really go in front of people and I start whoring myself out, then you know, I'm chilling with like five people a week. I'm chilling with that. That's not hard to get.
5 meals is a lot of meals.
No, that would be 50 meals.
Oh, right. The packaging system. I'm not aware of it.
Right. But
10 meals per person?
yeah.
For how are
$60.
these meals spread out?
What do you mean?
Like when are they getting? I'm guessing you don't give them all at once.
No, they pick it up on Sunday.
So it's for the whole week.
Yeah, it's meal prep, right?
Wow.
That's what you do when you're healthy.
Okay.
You meal prep.
That makes sense.
But yeah, no, Johnny, welcome. I mean, this is your first time. Please don't feel intimidated. Please don't feel scared. This is a safe space. You know,
No, well, thank you.
Everyone's welcome. So you know, we do these. I guess JP does these podcasts, and I like these podcasts because it's a way of having a conversation that like you wouldn't normally have. I feel like if we just didn't have these microphones down, we'd be like, oh yeah, what else is new in life, you know? And then like it goes silent. But we have these microphones, and it really allows us to like go deeper in our minds. And so like,
Wait, can I go a little bit into interview phase for a second? How do you guys know each other?
oh yeah,
So yeah, last school year we kept bumping into each other because we both resided in West Village, and I would always see him around, and I started saying hello, and he started saying to hello.
Yeah,
and then we
yeah,
started
just
to
like
talk.
that.
Yeah, we started to talk.
just like that's actually. I've met a lot of good friends like that through Davis, my fall quarter, just bumping into like, hey, I know you. I've already seen you like 5 times. We have to be friends now. You know what I mean? It's weird.
Yeah.
Like you literally making friends out of strangers. That's how it works.
But it was also on culture as well. I studied global studies at UCSB, so I did global culture, global migration, global communities, and I'm fascinated by that. So you had mentioned, you know, where you were from, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I love Iran, and I love the culture there.
Yeah.
You know, tried a couple restaurants and whatnot, and yeah.
And then I think the first time. Oh, I think the first time we hung out was I think we smoked weed.
We smoke weed all the time.
You came to my barbecue.
Yeah, a couple of barbecues.
You came to my barbecue.
Yeah.
I threw a lot of barbecues and social events.
Yeah, that's true.
And Johnny came through, and then we kept smoking and shit a lot.
And barbecuing.
Yeah, smoking and barbecuing, and then running into each other, and it was cool. I feel like you were like a really good pal, like you. Because you're my neighbor too. So, and you lived really close.
That's
in
true.
West Village. So, like, I'd always just like. I like that feeling where you could just like walk into your neighbor's house and just chill. Like that was such a good feeling that I'd never experienced before, and it was like my first time in university. So like to have that was like very cherishable. I cherished it a lot.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So. That's the type of like you love your neighbors. Like that's the type of love I feel like you need to give to your neighbors.
Yeah, well, I'm here for community development, and I'm trying to understand how to build communities. So, using different methods to approach that community development, that community building.
That's good. See, this is like a fucking dopey right here. Seriously, right, dude?
Yeah, it's true.
Oh my God. No, the conversations that we have been having here are so in line with like your values and stuff, because we're really about social justice, and like we have like social justice workshops and stuff like that. And I was actually supposed to run a social justice workshop, but I'll tell you this, man, I was scared.
Why?
I'm scared because I feel like there's these things, social justice topics and stuff. Like I know about these topics. It's not like I don't know. Like I'm aware, but like I haven't. Like I've just been so focused on my life, so focused on my grades, on my triathlon, and just like personal growth, that I haven't really like studied in depth at these topics as other people have. You know what I mean? And when I'm just like thrown into an environment and there's all these other people who are like doing this stuff but being so like, calling people out and calling people in and analyzing this, and like it makes me feel intimidated. Like I feel like I have inadequacy. I feel like I have an inadequacy.
No, the way that I would approach it is that we're all in different walks of life. So you might be like in the initial stage. That does not necessarily mean that down the road you'll be, more effective in what it is that you're doing. Another way that you can look at it is that, maybe all at its time, So if those individuals are being, productive, not productive, but putting something forward, might be because time allows it. So you have to check in with yourself to see if that time is being allowed, so that then you can do, put something forward.
Right.
So, rather than looking at the cup half empty, you should look at it like
half full. Right.
Yeah. So just a couple of things of that you can just, move the mechanism in the way, the way that you're looking at things. And
just look at it from a different perspective.
But you got it.
Yeah, that's true. It's like, it's like we just moved in. It's like not absolutely necessary that I have to look, guys, look what I did. Like, it's like things come with time. Things will grow with time. You learn over time. It's not necessary to learn in a week. You can learn things as you go. But I guess. See, I wish we had this conversation 2 weeks ago. You know what I mean? Because then I would have felt.
You got my contacts,
right?
You got my contacts.
But like, had I, that's the type. See, that's the type of advice that like someone like you who knows me, I feel comfortable to like speak that about with you. And for someone who does really, really make social justice their life, like as you have, like. I feel like it's hard for me to express how I feel to other people who would be in that same position, So, but because I'm your friend, I feel like I could reach out to you and you won't judge me or at all for any of that.
Yeah. Comfort is very, it's something that it's an element that needs to, that if it's there, it's it's there, and it gives you an opportunity to, possibly to express yourself, and in hopes of expressing yourself the way that you want to. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that I feel like I've seen since living in a safe space, because I was in the domes before, but it wasn't really a community before. I was here over the summer. And then when the school year started, all the students rushed in, and then stuff really started popping off as far as people calling other people out, things of that nature, meetings. The cliques started forming.
The cliques.
Yeah, so
It's true. Yeah, the real co-op community came out.
Yeah, I'm seeing the real, stuff come out, and this is just the first couple of weeks of school. This is our first real. We haven't even finished one full week.
Yeah.
So
It's
that
so
being
true.
said, one rule of thumb that I've kind of gone by is saying, okay, let me just accept something. Living in this safe space or quasi-safe space, it's going to be different. And how is that going to play out? Well, one thing that's definitely two things that are definitely different. People are going to, expect different things from you. So what do they expect from you as a member of this community? It's going to be different from if you were living in the dorms, straight up. You know what I mean? The second thing is the way people react to your normal, what you consider normal behavior, it's going to be different.
Yeah.
Because one thing that I've reflected and realized is if, all co-ops were to burn today, would I ultimately be able to live? Would I ultimately have a house? Yes, I would. I could move into a lot of different communities and be perfectly fine. I feel like I could go to Spain today and make it work. But that's not true for people who are in marginalized groups where they're not accepted. So it's really more their space than it is mine, because if I can adapt, if I know how to survive in different situations and they don't, this is their only safe space. For me, it's like one of many. I like the space, but it's not really like nobody's going to attack me
really
if I live somewhere else. So, I feel like there's a reason why people expect different things from me, and there's a reason why people react differently.
Right.
Because there's this whole thing of like, if you have, for instance, male privilege, then you do X, Y, and Z without thinking about it. Like one thing that I like to do is take leadership positions. I don't really think about it. I don't really give a fuck. But for somebody else, they might be, right there with the same level of skill, and they always get denied because of some, bias that everybody has, or that their society or their culture has. So I think living here is kind of a chance to say, like, okay, shit's weird. You know what I mean? One joke that I always make is that if you're a social justice person amongst social justice warriors, you're going to get killed.
Yeah, because it actually
they will
literally
attack you
happened.
as if you're like the extremist on the other side. So, but there's a reality behind it, which is that, well, there's a reason why different people are passionate about different things. Do they have the same opportunities that I have? No. If they walked out and tried to do the same things that I get to do, would it work? Probably not. So they're kind of trying to defend a way of life, whereas for me, it's just a matter of preference.
Yeah, and that's a really good point you bring up, and it's exactly the way I feel. And I feel like this is like people's, like as you're talking about space, like this is more of other people's space than it is mine.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that's how they look at you out in society. They feel like they're living in a Bez space most of their lives.
So and so as for us, we come back in here and this bubble dome, literally like it looks like a bubble. Like
everybody lives in a bubble.
It's the flip. It's the flip. Like now, as cisgendered males, we are like, I feel like we are like now how they would be treated out in society.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that status kind of like has dropped for us.
And there's a beauty to being an observer too. It's actually not all bad. Is one of the conclusions. It's like, this is annoying. Like I'm being attacked like I'm a racist or something just because I made a bad joke. But the reality of it is like, well, the bark is worse than the bite. I mean, really, the benefits that I get from living in, for instance, a queer space are much greater than just like, being a straight male in normal society. For instance, I can have open conversations with people. There's a culture to certain things that exist that I also benefit from. So it's not just like, oh, I'm a male, I'm not benefited, like this is for them. It's
No,
also
yeah.
like, well, it was kind of designed by a different group of people in power, but we all kind of benefit from the
Yeah.
fact that, for instance, people care about social justice.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm learning so much. Like I really feel like my life is just completely changing so much just from the little time I've been here already. So I can't imagine like 2 years like how I'm gonna really change.
Yeah.
If like I feel so different from last year, coming from West Village, and now imagine how I'm gonna feel in 2 years being in the dome. So, I mean, yeah, it's a trip. It's a trip. But like as like I have a question for you. Like as someone who's like getting their master's, who does like community development and who studied this stuff, like what do you like? What's your like analyzation about like
Yeah.
like a space like this, a community like this, but not just a co-op, but like the social justice aspect of it too.
So when you all were talking about the lifestyle here at the domes, I was just like absorbing as just like everything because I don't live in the domes, but I was like parallel to my experience in the community development master's program, and where there's expectations and there's communities, and you know, what social justice am I bringing to the forefront, and you know, how am I delivering that to, you know, to the type of work that I'm producing and I'm like sharing with my classmates. So I was just reminiscing on a lot of the things that you were saying, that you all were like, because it's similar to me. But the question that you were asking, what was the second part?
I guess it's like how do you like what's your critique, like what's your like if you were to like write like a paragraph or like a paper of like what you think like how we like integrate social justice in a co-op, and like how we advocate that, and how we like really try to make actions in line with values, like what do you think of it? Is this something like that could be like replicated in other communities? Is it, or you know what I mean? If like could you have spaces like these, like safe spaces like these, and in other communities? Could it be possible as like community development? I feel like this right here is community development.
There's obstacles across the way, and I'm going to share an example to in a personal experience that I had here at UC Davis. I was I bumped into a professor, and in a department, I don't want to call the person out, but in a unique department, in a high position, and we just started to have a casual conversation out in front of the UC Davis store in downtown Davis. And then kind of out of the blues, after 2 to 3 minutes of just conversating, he's a professor, said, "Hey, you have like a little street, like a rough edge to you." And I was just pondering, like, what do you mean I have like a street? Like,
Yeah, I don't even know what that means.
like I have I have a street edge.
Oh, streets.
Yeah, like a street edge.
they
Like,
said
oh,
street.
like you're from the streets. Like,
Oh yeah.
you know, like, cause
Or
As
like
a
the
professor,
hood.
it seems like you from the streets.
yeah. So like
What are you talking about?
in other words, he was
like trying to say you're ghetto or something, right?
Yes,
Something like
he was
that.
like, you're from the hood. You have a very strong vocabulary, but you can tell you're from the hood. And I was just like thinking, you know, I tried to just, you know, be
Right.
relaxed, and I said, yeah, you know, research shows that, you know, we project our environment, and I am an example of my environment. So I tried to kind of, you know, ease the comment down that he was saying. So he's a professor in a high position. I'm a graduate student, you know, someone who has gone far in academia, and yet I'm still finding these spaces to be a bit, you know, harsh. You still need to overcome them. Obstacles are there, and they're you know, you just gotta deal with them. You gotta
have
go
to-
forward. You gotta, you know, overcome them, dodge them, fix them, You know, if the energy is within
Like,
you,
if you have the capacity.
yeah, if you have the capacity, and that's something that you decide to do. But you know, but yeah, that's one of the
Wow. I mean, it's about deconstructing this
Yeah.
like hierarchy,
Yeah.
right? And like academia is all about
yeah,
hierarchy.
yeah. So yeah, you know, that was a perfect example how, you know, we might be in these progressive environments, but there's still a lot to overcome and to move forward and to, you know,
Can
bring
I-
social justice to.
Can I ask you a question though?
Yes.
This professor, were they? I know you don't want to say their name, but were they like were they white? Was it a white male?
Yeah, so it was.
Yeah, and was it an older white male?
Middle-aged, middle-aged, not like an old-timer professor.
middle-aged,
yeah,
right?
like middle-aged. Yeah.
I feel like that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like middle-aged white folks.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I would expect something like from that. Would you expect something like if it was like some like middle-aged ethnic person or something like that? Honestly.
I think that there's another piece to like, you know, this whole like issue, which is even like, you know, like the term intersectionality, and where not only was I being like, you know, like categorized by like how I spoke, but I believe this, you know, this professor is from the like queer community, and in a couple ways I feel that he was then even exotifying me. So it was like a double whammy, like a double, you know,
I
like,
see.
so not only am I dealing with race, but then I'm also dealing with like, you know, homosexuality, and I do identify as queer. So I think that, you know, immediately through like the, you know, couple comments that were made might have given him the red flag about my sexuality. And then thereafter, it was like I was being exotified.
Like he felt like it was okay to kind of like because
Like
I
felt to a certain degree I felt like objectified,
Right.
and then it was like,
Do you think that because he may have like picked up that you identify as queer, that he felt like it was like, oh, it's okay, like, you know what I mean, like because of that, like we're on like the same team.
Yes, we're
So,
on the
like,
same team.
I'm
We're
going
from the
to
same
just,
community. And a couple of things that he said, I was just like, that's exactly the same type of like, I'm thinking about the same incident. I'm thinking about the same thing that you said about me speaking in a particular type of like in a particular way.
Wow.
So, you know, safe spaces, you know, we dive into micro communities, and then micro communities within those micro communities, and there's still in you know, there's so many ways of analyze, like, you know, looking at life through these like mini communities within mini communities, and you would like demand, like, because we're so, you know, we're such in a very like, you know, we are in harsh environments. There would be some type of liberation or understanding or some type of support, but we still find those hardships.
Yeah,
We still
that's
find
true.
those hardships.
Yeah,
So,
that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
really unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, do you feel like in your heart you wanted to just call him out though?
No, because
Because it's like the hierarchy though. You know what I mean?
yeah, but then that like that creates. There's different ways you can approach it, and depending on the type of energy that you have, you can determine how you want to go about, you know, execute it the best way that you want to. But I think that I don't like going head to head with people, because I mean, how do I go against the system? How do I go against a professor who has, you know, his department or his cronies, individuals that he's written books with, you know, a very tight structure. I think that the way that if I ever saw him again, and I know where he works because he invited me, you know, to look at, you know, the type of research that they do, it would just to be kind of like to show the individual, because wherever I'm at, I always make an effort to, you know, like show a strong type of like outflowing energy. And if I was ever in front of him or I wasn't, I would always do the same thing.
I see.
You know, like
Right.
I'm constant with who I am and my values and the way that I look at life. So if I ever saw him, you know, in a very more like, you know, like ongoing conversations and where we see each other and we both have like a history of like bumping into each other, I might bring it up.
Yeah. That seems like the most actually more appropriate thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That, and I think that is something that we need to kind of think about at the domes is that we had an incident. Actually, it was at a social justice workshop, and basically someone had presented this topic, or it was a TED talk, and the lady was talking about she was talking about decolonization, right? That's what she was talking about. And I can't remember exactly like the words she used, but someone in the group, we had broken up into discussions, and then someone in the group like mentioned like, "Hey, I don't like agree with this," you know, and then it ended up getting into like the person who was presenting it, the way he responded ended up actually getting that person pissed off, kind of. And then it was like not so much like what was said, but like the way he was like kind of talking to him, and it ended up getting kind of like heated, and then like it was actually like a call out moment, and then the person who had to do the workshop ended up leaving the meeting, and it was like our first like head to head, like, you know, everyone witnessed, and then on the group me, it was just like they all went out at it, and like I think, but the thing is, it's like people feel like they sometimes like they have to, like social justice warriors, like you have to call out someone, you have to, you know what I mean, like, but that call out culture, I feel like it's not conductive to a community safe space environment. They contradict each other.
I think you have to be conscious of like, you know, people's time frames. And I think that, you know, in the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years, there's been a lot of development, you know, clubs, queer organizations in junior high and high schools are throughout the U.S. And when I was growing up, we didn't have that. And it was, you know, that was foreign. So I think that, you know, individuals such as myself, I'm 33, I'm still learning, and you know, I'm not one of the younger generations, and who are better who have had the privilege to have the tools that, you know, newer tools to look at life. And, you know, I see that discrepancy. I feel that the ones who have, you know, the older ones, the ones that are 30 and 40, who have were not raised in these times, there's the discrepancies in how we are. So yes, there's you know, the way that we were colonized, the way that we were programmed, you know, there's discrepancies. And, you know, for me, it's been even like, I'm part of the community. I'm still learning, and I'm still finding myself to use, you know, terms that should not be used, that they're not sensitive of communities. And I think that's, you know, I'm making my effort, but I do find myself finding myself, you know, utilizing colonize and terms that are just, you know, that should be polished. But I think that as time progresses, you know, things are, I find I have a lot of hope, and the way that we utilize terms, and the way that we you know, utilize language to speak, and a more inclusive language.
I guess we have to, as for us, the people living in the domes, we have to really recognize the privilege that we've had. Like, one, just going to a UC, being in California.
That's huge.
Yeah,
It's
that is
huge.
Yeah,
Everyone
no,
fucking
yeah,
forgets
yeah,
it, though.
no.
UC.
No, I've been to like many states, and I do see the discrepancy.
Yeah, it's like, and I think we kind of forget that. Like, you know, we think like, oh yeah, like, you know, like we're like the ones, like, yeah, like of course, like we were saying, we're the ones being oppressed. We're like, you know, we're advocating for, you know, the rights of these of the global majority people.
Yeah.
But it's like, there's like, it's people way worse off than us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, who don't have a voice at all.
Yeah.
So we just have to consider that, like, and we just recognize that, and I think respect is really needed here. Respect.
Yeah,
we have to respect
absolutely.
each other. If we respect each other, then we talk to each other in a good way.
Yeah.
You know, instead of calling someone out, it's like, hey, can I just come talk to you?
Yes,
And
yes,
sit-
yes,
and
yes,
then- and
yes,
it's
yes.
like, hey, let's go sit on the grass
Yes.
together, and let me look at you in the eye and breathe for a second.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
And
yes,
then let me
yes,
tell you
please.
how I feel.
Yes.
I actually did that with someone here at the
Yeah.
time. Someone was bothering me. Someone I really felt like it's like they're trying to play this like boss role.
Oh no.
And I'm like, hey, I need to talk to you. And then we sat on the grass, and I took a deep breath, and I told him how I felt. And it was such a good feeling, like, you know. But if I were to just go up to him and be like, hey, I don't like the way you're talking to
Yeah.
me, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but something I would have normally done in the past. Something I totally would have normally done in the past.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think there just needs, I feel like there needs to be for the domes, there needs to be a protocol on how we call out people.
Yeah.
Well,
Otherwise, people are going to get hurt.
yeah, I agree with the feeling behind it for sure. But it seems like when I think about call-out cultures or calling out as a phenomenon, one of the things that I think of is the situations where people feel that they don't have the strength to call someone out. And I largely think of calling out as like the child of that world. Like if someone can't call someone out, or if they have a friend who can't call someone out, or if they've seen someone in a situation where they felt powerless and they couldn't do anything, then the reaction to that could be going the other extreme and saying, fuck that, I'm going to call out everybody. Nobody's going to fuck with me the way I saw my friends suffer, my mom suffer, whatever.
Right.
So I think it actually did come from a good place where people don't want to be exploited, obviously.
Yes.
But to get back to the domes protocol, I think something slightly more general is what you hinted at with, like, let's go out in the grass, which is you don't use the strongest tool in your arsenal. You use the tool the strongest one that you need to get the job done. And like embarrassing someone in front of a group of people is a very strong tool, right? It can be humiliating. But you don't always need that level of, you don't need a tool that strong to fix every problem.
It's not
So
necessary.
you can build up an arsenal of tools for saying, hey, there's all these ways I can address an issue that I have. One of them is calling out, right? But I don't always need to go to call out. I don't need to, and here's something that happens in certain cultures. You get rewarded for calling people out.
Yeah.
Now, if you're in that culture, you're always using the strongest tool, right? That's
Yes.
like if somebody, fighting is a tool. If someone's attacking me, I'm going to fight them. But if they're not attacking me, why am I going to get physical with them? It doesn't make sense. But if you're in a culture of fighting, just like if you're in a culture of calling out, just like if you're in a rape culture or whatever the fuck dangerous behavior it's
Yeah.
in, which can exist in a safe space. It's just, it could
Yeah,
be used
and-
by the same people who are trying to
Yeah.
protect themselves. They could use bad technique. It can turn out that you incentivize people to do something that they don't actually need to do in order to solve that particular problem.
And that's so people come with different experiences. They do these things because that's like what they're used to doing. They've done them in so it, like what feels normal for someone may not feel normal for the other person.
Yeah.
So, but again, we're new. We're
new.
trying to figure each other out.
Yes, yes,
You
yes.
know what I
yeah.
mean?
We
We're not going to
yeah.
get everything right the first time. We have to
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, things happen. Okay, how do we move forward and
Yeah,
Yeah.
and,
Sure,
and
something like-
specifically, how do we move forward starting from the lowest possible harm done
Mm-hmm.
and then move up? Try the easiest thing. And then if that doesn't work, okay, now we have to go to the next thing because the easiest thing didn't work. But like, if you're going straight from, you know, boom, boom, hey, now people are damn near ready to cry, then that's not a true safe space. You're not actually trying to, because one of the things that always got me annoyed is like, if I would meet someone who would, they would get angry at someone who was less educated than they were in some particular area. So they'd say, you know, you didn't know about intersectionality? What's wrong with you, you fucking idiot, or something like that? And it's kind of like, well, most people aren't really all that educated in these things, but it seems like if you're in the position of knowing, you should be more compassionate than the average person and more willing to teach than the average person. So if you're right off the bat shaming people for not being on your level, are you really on that high of a level?
Yeah, that's the fear. That's the fear that I have. That's anxiety, the inadequacy that I feel because, like,
They'll really
legitimately-
beat it into
Yeah,
you.
because like I'm a cisgendered male, right? And there's only not that many cisgendered males of us in here. So, but what I'm realizing is that actually at the dorms and SCHA, they're proud of me for coming and showing up and learn and trying to learn. And that is where all my like I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm in a safe space. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I want to share with y'all an experience that happened today. If y'all allow me to.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, please.
So I was on an app, Grinder, right, today, and I messaged somebody, and the individual had a famous like a famous like Mexican singer's name, and the individual was was doing the transformation from male to female, and again, like the name that she was utilizing was a famous Mexican, and I love Mexican music, and
What was the
and I'm Mexican.
artist?
Chiquis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I said, I just said a simple question. I said a simple question, and I said, "Oh, do you also sing? Like, you know?" I guess that you could have interpreted the questions like, "Is this an insult?" or, but if someone really knew me, like I compose music, I've done music,
Right.
and I got a very like standoffish response.
Oh, okay.
It was very standoffish, you know, and I said, "Oh wow," like, and I sent Mexican pictures like of me like with my hat, with my boots, and I said, "Look, I'm doing music," and you know, it was just some more like attacks, and I'm just like, and I was just like, "Yo, I'm, you know, just to clarify, to clarify, and I apologize any inconvenience." You know, my culture's Mexican, and you know, like it was just like a very like it was like lashing out, and then I say, look, I understand society. On your profile it says you're new to Davis. Welcome to Davis. I hope you have a wonderful experience. You know. Every individual should have a wonderful experience, but it makes me think of, you know, these like either, you know how there's different cultures, like cultures that deal with things that sometimes utilize these mechanisms, and these mechanisms then have these like might have negative externalities or negative effects, and here I am, and let me just top it off that on my Grindr profile, I know it off the top of my, it says I'm an entrepreneur, I love business, I love human ecology, political economy, and then like half of my profile says friends come in all colors, religions, ages, transformations, like self-identities. Like I dedicate the whole thing to say whoever it is that you are, like friends come in, like I even have disabilities, and you know, like So again, it's like my first introduction is just, and I just say that I'm looking people for for gym. Actually, I was like, I'm looking for gym rats. I said I'm looking for gym rats. Actually, but again, like I want to emphasize that is it, like it says, friends come in all shapes, colors, ages, and still, I mean, I would assume like, if you're gonna figure out who's messaging you, read what they have about you, and then that can help you determine whether like that might affect the way that you respond. But it was too bad backlashes that I received just by saying, hey, do you sing, like are you into the music, because again, the name. So we come from different communities. We all deal with intersectionality, and we're trying to overcome it, but sometimes we find ourselves having more problem unintentionally, and this is life.
Yeah, unintentionally we're having problems.
This is
Yeah,
life. This is life. Yeah.
Yeah, just like the person who's doing the social justice workshop.
Yeah.
Hey, August, what's up? No food, but we're in a podcast.
Podcast?
Yeah, say hi.
Woke podcast?
This is actually
no.
a social justice podcast.
Hi, this is August. I
I'll
am
just wear the headphones real quick.
so woke. I'm so woke. I can feel vegan cheese coming out of my pores. I'm so woke. I'm so woke. I can feel
Vegan
that
cheese.
decolonization is not a metaphor.
Oh.
Oh. I'm so woke. I can write a beat poem in my sleep. I'm so woke. I dream in Gloria Andazuela's kitty litter.
Oh my god.
Oh. Bars straight from August. You know what I'm saying?
No, I can't.
Not September.
Oh yeah, you're sorry. But no, you are you hungry?
Yeah, I'm so hungry.
I have some. You have some more of the.
I'm so.
I'll give you a meal. I'll give you a meal.
Hungry
I'll give you a meal.
for justice.
That's the punchline.
Yeah.
Ding 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 ding
No, I'll
ding
give
ding
you
ding
some food.
ding.
I have some food. Yeah.
Good.
Shoot him
Yeah.
a meal prep.
No, I can't profit off of anyone here.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. No.
This is out here sharing meals, sharing love,
That's what about.
making I'm so woke jokes.
No, it's we're talking about like. Okay, so
Well, can I add something in? I
Yeah.
actually had a direct comment.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Before you continue, I just want to say that I'm so woke. I shit the milk they pour in the eyes of pepper spray victims.
Wow.
Yeah.
You must eat some really hot peppers.
Oh yeah, Bez. You bet I do. I'm so woke. I am the pepper sprayed upside down head at Marac Hall.
Fuck. No, you're so woke that your piss is pretty much what you spray in their eye because
No, Bez. Correction. I'm so woke. I'm the milk that they use to cure the pepper spray eye. Cure the pepper spray eye. Not cause pepper spray. That would be the police.
Okay.
Bez, I'm so woke. I eat cops for breakfast.
Oh shit. With nails. Don't forget the nails.
With nails.
Oh fuck. And the instead of milk it's blood.
Bez, I'm killing the milk reference. I'm killing it. We're cutting that out. We're cutting that in post.
Wait, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. It was it had to do with intention. So that's one of the things that seems to be like lacking a little bit, and on the same level as like the call outs, people not recognizing that there are better tools, but like the intention. So one of the things I love doing is just telling a million bad jokes when I meet someone new. And there's only one purpose, to see whether or not they care what I mean. So the joke is, if you understand the joke, then you know that, you know, I'm not actually being mean, or I'm not actually being as extreme as I'm like as the character that I'm playing. But if you don't care about what, like, the craft of making that joke, then you'll just interpret it based off of whatever you hear. And what you hear could be like, you know, maybe I curse, maybe I say something that's politically incorrect. Like here's one. I was fucking a they so ugly, I called her a we. Right? That's horrible, right? That's like a very terrible comment to make about anyone, is to change their pronoun and into something that's not even considered a normal pronoun. Exactly. It's incredibly offensive. However, what am I saying? I'm not saying what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I just want to interrupt this conversation with a moment from our messaging to say that JP is so woke. His blood is caffeinated with call-outs.
All right, let's wrap this one up in a little bit here. But
Oh yeah, you gotta go.
well, you know, it's getting,
Okay, well, the point is, do people assume the best intentions when they hear something that disturbs them?
This is on his website.
And a lot of the time people don't. A lot of the time people say, nope, whatever I thought you meant, that's what you meant.
No,
And even if you try to, like,
we could edit these stuff.
but it's not going to be edited out. No,
They
it's not going to be edited out, but no one's going to listen
No, we're
to
gonna
it
put it
anyway.
on the group meet. I'm just kidding. Here's a link.
We're already 46 minutes in.
Is that a roast? I think I'm just roasted.
Oh
Am I a dark roast or a light roast?
man, medium roast. Yeah.
I've been medium roasted.
medium roast is when all the caffeine is strong.
No, it's all. No, but we were honestly. Well, I'll tell you what we were talking about. We were talking about call out culture, and we were talking about creating a safe space. And I was
Really,
just
to summarize it, why is it that it's possible to feel unsafe in a safe space? How does that deal with community?
That's out the
Exactly.
ballpark.
Yeah, and some of the ways that comes up are call-out culture.
Right.
Or people not really trying to understand what you mean when you say things,
Right.
assuming the worst when you talk. And like I was saying, I tell bad jokes to see whether or not someone is
I
going
think-
to do that, or whether or not they're going to try to understand what I'm saying.
yeah.
I noticed that.
Wait, you don't have a mic. You don't have a mic.
This is Ian, by the way. When I first met JP, I definitely noticed that he was using a lot of like really dirty jokes around me, and so I'm just. My testimony is a witness that everything he said is true.
Yeah, and
fucking fire.
and I think we should have a protocol for the domes where it's like it's not necessary to do turn a safe space into an unsafe space. Instead, it's like I was just telling them, but like since you just came in, I'll tell you. It's instead like we could do is like, okay, pull the person to the side, go sit on the grass, look them in the eye, take a big deep breath, and tell them how you feel, and then talk. I feel like that is much more calming.
I mean, while we're on the subject of call-out culture, just wanted to say that where I come from, we use call-outs to call out rapists. We would call out to call out really violent behavior. Call-out is not a casual mechanism. It's a legitimate use of force. And when you use it for power, that's abusive.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with
That's-
that. I agree with that.
I really agree with that too, and I think the word call can't just be thrown out like that. I think it has to be say like, okay, you've said something, we don't agree with it. Let's talk about it because you're right. Where you come from, like, that's a traumatizing thing.
Yeah.
You know, and
it's a necessary trauma. It's a necessary trauma that you inflict on a perpetrator of violence. It's not something you casually bandy about for your own personal gain.
Right. And that's the thing. We all come from so many different like experiences and backgrounds where where one thing felt normal is not going to feel normal for someone else. So it's like in some situations like you're like looked up, you're like you want to call out people, you want to do that because then you're just like, okay, yeah, I'm like advocating, I'm fighting, like we were just talking about that. But in other cases, like your case, it was the complete opposite. So we have to really, really recognize that about each other, and like we have to respect where we come from before we just go boom, 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 boom. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think we really, as a community, I don't think we really know where we come from on an individual level. I really don't think so. I think we kind of like generally understand where like who we are and like who people are, but I don't think like until you actually sit down and have a conversation with them, I don't think we're gonna really know.
And I'm really glad you said that, because I think that as a community, we don't know each other yet. Yeah, I don't think we understand where people come from and what their backgrounds are and what kind of experiences they've had that shaped them. And when you don't know your audience, you should be especially careful and civil so that you don't hurt someone.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, for things that like, yeah, I agree. Maybe it's like we're not mature enough yet to have a social justice workshop like that. You know, so maybe it's like instead of a social justice workshop, we just like, you know, go around the room, break up in small groups, and just tell our life stories. You know what I mean? Yeah. Honestly, I think that will actually work better.
Yeah, I like that proposal. I think we should. Why should we maintain this tradition? Let's just check in if it's going to be contentious. You know, that's not building community. So let's just forego that maybe for a while and just really learn to know who we are.
Yeah. One thing I would say, one last thing. I'm a cisgendered male. I've grown up in a white affluent neighborhood, you know, but
so
like
you're a bad person is what you're saying.
but like people, there are even in that environment, there are things that I hella have to struggle with that made me feel so inadequate and so like not like one of them, where like you wouldn't think that about me, you know. And I could really go on about that, but see, like people wouldn't know that at all. They would totally not know that. And a lot of the things that I do is a coping mechanism for like dealing with like what I've like gone through as like a child and stuff like that. And then once I explained the story, it's like, okay, now I understand you, Bez. Now I understand you, why you value physical labor so hard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not because I'm like a cisgendered male. It's because like I do it because I lived in a very abusive lifestyle with my dad, and then now I have to wipe his ass because we have to caregive for him. And it's like I use physical labor and triathlon and gardening as a way of like as my outlet. You know, people don't know that about people don't know about like, you know. So that's just one example. But
actually, I want to bring up the topic of pain Olympics too, where comparing people's pain for status can be problematic.
Yeah, that's for sure. And it's like, but again,
or perceived pain.
We're doing it as a way to understanding where we come from. Yeah. You know, like what is your pain? Like where did you come from? Like
instead of assuming you ride bikes, you're a cisgendered male, you must be an asshole. Think, well, I don't really know his pain, so I don't know that he's had a better experience, even if all the numbers should say you've had a better experience.
Everyone's pain
society accepts you more. You can still be in a lot of pain.
Everyone's pain is completely valid. And of course, people went through much more pain than I did, for sure. But like, all I know is like, this is the life that I seen through my eyes. And, you know, I have the privilege of like being able to be in this space where I could recognize other people's lives too. And like, let me put myself in your shoes. But the only way I could really like for sure put myself in your shoes is for like you really tell me like where you really came from and like what really happened. I feel like, you know, it's like, I don't know. So yeah, I think this is a good. Any final thoughts before we conclude?
Actually, yeah. Well, tell me about the business, the entrepreneurship. We were talking about the community.
Well, the business that I'm going to be releasing in December 1st is what it is. It's going to be a crowdfunding platform. And what it is, there's Patreon and Kiva and GoFundMe. So there's these different niches. Our niche is anybody who's physically in Mexico, in the geography, living there, can go on the platform. But it has to be attached to community development, and they have to substantiate why they're asking for money and how that money is going to be utilized for community development. So women empowerment, LGBT rights, indigenous rights, electrification, study abroad, dreamers, deported dreamers, startups, anything and everything that, that can present development for the individual, the environment, and their community at large, will be able to go on the platform. And the funding will be done and marketed in the United States, and where you have 35 million Mexican Americans, you have, out of the 11 million undocumented, I believe 7 to 8 are of Mexican descent. So that brings us up to above 40, and then a next number of allies would be able to fund it. So that's what it is. So a platform to create a healthier North America, and that's the dream. To be able to one day be able to put Tijuana and after school programs for kids, and fund a couple dollars. LGBT queer programs in Mexico City, a couple dollars. Indigenous stipends to teach indigenous tongues in the Yucatan Peninsula, a couple dollars. So it would be community development from below. It would be putting a highway that connects two communities in two different countries together, and creating a highway that plugs them all together, and that help and where we can all help each other and show this culture of philanthropy, and to switch narratives of what crazy presidents are saying, to show that that we're a culture of giving back, and we're a culture of philanthropy, we're a culture of helping, and that if we're given an opportunity, we can do great things. Hashtag healthy North America.
Snap.
And we're in the process of replicating this with Central America and the Caribbean. So
there you go.
So
wow. True dummy.
Yeah. I think I say if anybody's from if anybody's from South America, African continent, if anybody is from Southeast Asia and they can replicate this, by all means, replicate this, copy and paste. Because if your heart is truly in community development, you can't be oh, they can't do it. Wait, hold up, you're fighting for community development. Everybody deserves community development.
Right.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if migrants from Africa who are in Europe, or in South America, people who migrate to Brazil, or from least developed to more developed, or from rural to urban, who can, because you find these economic systems all throughout the West, and if they can replicate it, utilizing strong currencies to pull less developed, and utilizing the key thing is the exchange rates, utilizing the valued exchange rate and exchanging that to a devalued currency. You multiply, you substantiate the type of work that you do. So it's not reinventing the wheel. It's not creating a crowdfunding. It's actually doing what they're doing. I'm not, creating new money. I'm just utilizing the mechanisms that already are in place. So, yeah.
So that's the benefit of U.S. funding. Mexico is the exchange rate as a part of
yeah. But this is going to be more direct. It's going to be it's going to be a list of people. You'll be able to select the states, And once you select the states, and Mexico has been affected by, the great migration to the north. So we all have friends and family in the U.S. who we can start asking for support. But again, you have to substantiate what it is that you want, and you have to have a clear vision, because it's very important to utilize the the type of resources and maximizing it as much as we can. That's the hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Inspiring.
So yeah.
See, I feel like you should give like a PowerPoint presentation here at the Domes or something.
Hopefully, yeah.
All right.
You know what I mean?
On that note, we're gonna wrap things up with the most important question in the
The
universe.
most important question in
Yes.
the
This is
universe.
also for you, Bez, I guess.
Okay.
Pop or push?
That's pop.
Push.
That's right.
Chef Set, the Chefofx podcast. Delicious.
Here's a quick message from our one and only sponsor, True Facts. True Facts. We said it, therefore it's true.
You know what's good? It's the Young Sheep. I just wanted to give a quick shout out and testimonial to my brothers at True Facts. You know what I'm saying? True Facts is the only online news source that I can trust. They already figured it out, man. They post real shit only. The shit I agree with, you know what I mean? You never gotta worry about checking those sources with True Facts. They got it done. Plus, they got some real niggas and bad bitches working up in that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? So, shout out to True Facts.
True Facts. We said it, therefore it's true.